It's Monday, and it's Nancy Joy back again. I wanted to talk today about templates and grids, just quickly what they are, and how you, from your inside yourself, the way you respond to things, feel things, emotionally clear, and heal yourself, have an effect on all things that are connected. If you could look at our Earth and look at all the grids around our Earth, there are different grids in different dimensions, but let's just say for right now that you look around the Earth and there is a crisscross grid around the entire Earth as you're able to view it. And that grid is holding certain fields in place. It's holding certain things together. And everywhere it crisscrosses, two grid lines crisscross each other, is a vortex or a sacred place, depending on how powerful it is. For example, almost all your churches are built on vortexes. And under many of the modern day churches and even the early churches are the ancient ruins. For example, in the ancient city of Cusco, the Temple of the Sun, the most powerful place in Peru, Temple of the Sun in Cusco, on top of that was built the Catholic Church. And it wasn't until an earthquake knocked down part of the church, that the Temple of the Sun was revealed. So these energy sites are known. Some of you know about this. But what's not always understood is how you affect these vortexes and grids and how they affect you. And I want to just start with a quick story. Many of you know that last weekend Malku was here with his wife Alana, and one of the things that was particularly moving for me was a ceremony that the group did. There were 13 of us up at the Rock, or 12 of us, I guess, up at the Heart Rock. And Malku led a ceremony, and we all sat on the rock. And there was such a cellular feeling in me that was so deep. It's hard to put into words, but it was as if I'd waited for this my whole life. Something very powerful was happening to me and inside of me. Now, I'm not saying the whole group had the same feeling. I'm very connected to that vortex. I'm very connected to that rock. It's, to me, the major grid point here on our land. And I felt there was a huge heart opening. It's kind of from the biblical thing, wherever two or more are gathered in an intention of the heart, there is powerful things that happen. Then it came to me in the night, last night in fact, that we were working on a particular grid. That Malku went on from here, from the heartland, and over again, he said what a feeling of the heart he had here in Iowa, and that he would be back. And Iowa means beautiful land. For those of you who have never been here, you probably think of it as flat farmland. I know I'm not from here. That's how I thought of it. But it's so much more. Deeply resonant. And so he went from here, and from that ceremony on Sunday, Monday morning, I took him, and he left then for Washington, D.C. And he reached Washington, D.C. Monday and left Tuesday. Well, the Pope arrived in Washington, D.C. on Monday. Then Malku headed to New York, where he's doing a large gathering in Central Park and other things. And guess who's following him to New York at the end of this week? The Pope. Now, you could all look at that and say it's coincidence. But in my heart, I know it isn't. And for him in particular, he has been in a particular painful situation around resistance to the Catholic Church from the indigenous people in Peru. So there is some heart healing, I have no doubt about it, going on from that circumstance. And so my point of this Monday morning reflections is that when you are really guided, I had no idea that that was going to be all connected when we planned Malku to come here. He asked to come here. And the people, the 11 people gathered, and 12, 13, 14 of us, counting me, Malku, and his wife, Alana. But I always know that when these groups gather, we gather for a reason. and we are changing something inside ourselves, and that was certainly the cellular thing that happened to me, that will change everything connected to that grid. It's kind of like a pinball machine. When you hit the light and it bong, 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 and suddenly everything lights up. Everything lights up on the grid, and you hit the jackpot, so to speak. This is what it's like. This is truly what it's like to travel to the sacred sites, which always create an initiation and an experience that changes you. And in that change in consciousness, you interact with that vortex point, and it affects the grid. So many of you have asked me about that. In my email, if you've received it, if you're not watching this just on YouTube, there is a link to an article that explains templates and grids and how we work with them, and that was written by Jalila Starr, and it's very good to understand. So basically, this Monday morning, there are sacred sites everywhere. There are vortexes within your own land. Wherever you travel, when you are drawn to get out of the car and stop somewhere and stand, or you're with your children and you all hold hands, there's much more going on than that simple act, and it is an act of the heart grid, and that's what I feel is the activation going on. Certainly my passion and my work, but the activation and consciousness of the heart grid. So find the heart grid within yourself, within your experiences, and within your responses. You have the sacred vortex right inside of you where all your grids cross, and it's called your heart. So have a great Monday morning, and enjoy the week.